Hello everyone and welcome back. Now, having seen Jurassic World Dominion in the past week, I thought that it wouldn't be too unreasonable to list every single movie in the Jurassic Park / Jurassic World saga from best to worst. So funnily enough, today that is exactly what we're going to be looking at, and I have rewatched every single film other than obviously Jurassic World Dominion just in preparation for today's video. So this video is technically several hours in the making, so if you could consider liking and subscribing if you do go on to enjoy, it would mean a lot to me, as the support recently has just been absolutely incredible. We've absolutely smashed my subscriber target, and now I'm going to keep pushing, and if we could potentially hit 1.25k by the end of the week, that would mean an awful lot to me. But with that being said, let's get into the video. But quickly before we get into it, I do just want to mention I haven't finished watching Camp Cretaceous, so for continuity's sake I will literally just be doing the films, and I'm sure that's probably more enjoyable for you lot too. So anyway, with that being said, to begin, my least, I don't want to say favourite, but my least not favourite film in the Jurassic saga is Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. Now, I was a bit 50-50 with whether or not to go for JP3 or Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom for this one, but I feel like JP3 just about scraped some of my respect, whereas Fallen Kingdom I just didn't really enjoy, to be honest with you. I'm not going to get into detail because I could run on for ages about why I didn't like this film, but more or less an inconsistent plot, forgettable character performances, and just generally a darker aesthetic all came together to make this a very much mediocre film for me, and I just didn't really enjoy it. The action sequences were way too fast-paced for me personally, and yeah. Like, don't get me wrong, the film has its moments. I'm very happy that it introduced the Carno to the Jurassic franchise, but that's about it for Fallen Kingdom. I didn't enjoy the film. It was, yeah, again, very fast-paced. There was a lot I didn't like about it. And yeah, obviously that is just my opinion. But, you know, generally speaking, I don't see too many people thinking that highly of Fallen Kingdom, generally speaking. So, yeah, if you do have, you know, different thoughts on Fallen Kingdom, though, do feel free to let me know down in the comments. Now, as you may well have guessed, in 5th place, I've gone for Jurassic Park 3. Now, again, similar to Fallen Kingdom, this film definitely has its moments, but I just felt like when you put the bad and the good next to each other, the bad does definitely overtake most of the good. Like, don't get me wrong, the film has moments, but I feel like the story, for me at least, just wasn't compelling enough, and, you know, the entire dynamic they took with it just didn't really make much sense to me. Even how Eric got stuck on the island just didn't really, you know, why would you go there past that? There's just so much I didn't like about this film. The story could have been brilliant, but it just wasn't for me. And again, this is my opinion. I'm sure some of you like this film, and I totally respect that. It's just I didn't really enjoy it personally as much as other JP films. But as I say, there are definitely some moments in this film I liked, but generally speaking, it just doesn't really rank that high in my all-time favourite JP/JW films. And in 4th, this is a bit of a difficult one, because I didn't actually not like this film. As a matter of fact, I really enjoyed it. It's just, there's films that, you know, you're sort of getting the rough idea of what my list may look like now, but Jurassic World, I liked it as a film, and, you know, considering that there's so much they could really work on in that 14-year period, stuff like the CGI and special effects just sort of was a breath of fresh air for this franchise, and that's partly the reason I really loved it. You know, for some time you actually get a rough idea of what Jurassic Park could have been like if it was successful, and that is obviously before it all goes to shit, as we know now, but yeah, for what it's worth, I did enjoy this film. I know it's not flawless, I know it's not perfect, and I know that perhaps I might, you know, have a biased opinion on liking it, but generally speaking, I did really like Jurassic World, and that's why it ranks 4th in my list. And for 3rd, perhaps one of the better films in my opinion for the Jurassic saga, The Lost World. Now, this is very much a film I feel like I might get a bit of backlash for, because it has a very much love-hate relationship in the Jurassic community with quite a lot of people, but in my opinion at least, it's extremely underrated for what it actually was. Now, having been making videos on the Jurassic saga for almost 11 months now, something I've realised quite a lot is that many people have their perceptions on Jurassic movies based on, you know, the flaws of a film, whereas, you know, I feel like people need to be more sort of positive and take films for the positives, you know, as opposed to just being negative. I know I sound a bit lost for words there, but more or less my point is The Lost World. It's got a complicated story, but I feel more people focus on the fact that it's got that complicated story as opposed to the things that it actually did well in. Now, time for probably an unpopular opinion, but I feel bringing the T-Rex onto the mainland wasn't actually that bad of an idea, because, you know, if it had just stayed on the island, I feel like it would have been the same thing over and over again in The Lost World, whereas bringing it into the city actually gave it a new dynamic. And I know they didn't necessarily, you know, portray it as beautifully as it could have been done, but you know, it was definitely something that was fun to watch, especially growing up. So for that, The Lost World ranks number 3 in my list. And that brings us to number 2 in my favourite Jurassic films. And this is probably the biggest roller coaster of reviews I've ever seen in a Jurassic film. And you can probably guess, it's Jurassic World Dominion. As a matter of fact, I was actually chatting to Swerve about this last night, and that's the fact that Dominion is so, you know, people love to hate on films, especially Jurassic films, for the sake of hating on it. Again, similar to the point I made about The Lost World, it wasn't a bad film by any means. Like, okay, it's not flawless, there's, you know, flaws, but it's still a good film for what it was, and I feel people need to respect that more. Now, obviously, that's a bit difficult for me to say, as I'm sure probably not more than 20 of you watching this video have actually seen Dominion for yourselves yet. But I have, and okay, it's not perfect, but it was still really enjoyable if you're just someone that wants to sit down, watch a fun movie. Dominion definitely fits the billing for me, and, you know, me being the type of viewer that likes an action scene, that likes a good film, Jurassic World Dominion cut the line. And again, I know it's not flawless. I know some of you hate on me for putting it second, but in my opinion, it wasn't a bad film, and it's certainly not as bad as people are making it out to be. However, I won't say much more, as obviously you lot probably haven't had the opportunity to see the film yet, and I don't really want to get into spoilers. However, that does bring us to first place, and as you will probably know now, it's Jurassic Park, and how could it not be? The film that kicked off the franchise, the film that made me fall in love with dinosaurs, and, you know, it's just the perfect dinosaur film from pretty much every perspective. I personally don't think there'll be another Jurassic film or spin-off that will ever actually compare to Jurassic Park, and with good reason. I love this film so much so that I've decided to make an entire YouTube channel out of it, and generally want to have it be a part of whatever I decide to pursue as my career. And it just had that big of an impact on me that I just don't really know how to fathom it or put it into words. It's a masterpiece of directing, and it's got one of the most iconic scores of all time. The storyline is relatively simple, and the characters are extremely likeable. However, I won't go into a full-blown review, but if that is something you'd want to see, let me know. But with that in mind, that does bring us to the end of today's video. If you have enjoyed, let me know some of your favourite Jurassic films down in the comments, and please do consider liking and subscribing, as your support does mean so much to me. Thanks for watching, and I do hope to see you in the next one.